What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for rocking with me another week. Thank you for coming back to this stream where I feel so comfortable and at home thank you for coming with me. I appreciate all y'all who send this to a friend and who big up the community this way. Thank you so much for doing that. If you want to support and you want to send me a tip via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, that's super helpful. It is so helpful. Thank you so much for doing that. I super appreciate it. If you want to go and support for free, you can go to Spotify, Tidal, Pandora, Apple Music, wherever you like to get your music at, and listen to the music that I made there. You can just get into the search bar and search for Zamboni Funk and find a whole bunch of really nice music. I'm really proud of it. There's new music coming out probably maybe a month from now or something like this. We're getting very close. You can get an astrology reading at zambonifunk.com. We can chat together for an hour over Zoom. You can get a 10-minute reading just like this one where I sort of talk about what's going on around your question. There's all kinds of things you can do. Thank you so much for supporting. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So this week, the main thing that we got going on here this week is we are looking at the Libra and Aries polarity, and we're thinking about what's going on with that. Those areas of sky are looking at some major changes in whatever's going on. We're looking at big changes because we're in eclipse time now, right? So we've got eclipses going on in Aries on the north node and in Libra on the south node. And we've got a full moon this week. This full moon is not going to be eclipsed. This full moon is it's technically far enough away from it's like 20 degrees and change or something like that away from typically from the nodes. If typically people talk about like 15 to 18 degrees as being the kind of like border space, right? So they're in the same sign, but we're not likely to see shadows across the moon on this one, right? So we're gonna have a full moon in Aries. Full moon is when we've got like the big bright full moon and it's opposite to the sun. We're not gonna see a shadow across that bright full moon, but this full moon in Aries is ruled by Mars. Well, what's going on with Mars? Mars is in Libra with the south node, right there with the south node. It's conjunct within like 2 degrees or something like that at the time of the full moon this week. So even though this one isn't eclipsed, we are likely to see clearly, or it's likely to be a moment to reflect on, right? That's what the full moon is. The full moon is opposite to the sun. So we've got this you can see the whole face of the moon. The whole face of the moon is reflecting the light of the sun and gives us this bright light that we can even see in the darkness. We can even see in the nighttime, right? And it's a moment for us to reflect on how things have been going, how the Libra and the Aries pieces are working together. How are they working? What are they working on? What's not working? How can we make it all sort of like work a little better and this kind of thing? What is the balance between Aries? I want to charge through. I want to do my thing. I want to be independent and glorious unto myself. And then versus the Libra thing, which is sort of like the scales, right? So we can think about like harmony or balance or fairness or justice or any of these kinds of things, right? How are these two situations working together or working opposite to each other? Like what's going on in this area, right? This full moon looks like it really wants to be a time for us to notice what's happening, even though the eclipses. So whenever I think about eclipses, I think about some kind of major catalytic change, right? Some kind of change wants to take place under eclipses, and it wants to take place in a significant way over about a year and a half. It's about an 18-month cycle for the nodes to move through a sign, a couple of signs. So even though this one is not eclipsed, this full moon in Aries is not eclipsed. It's our last full moon in Aries that's not eclipsed for this 18-month period. So enjoy yourself a little bit, right? But Mars is right there on the south node. And the sun has moved into Libra. Happy birthday, Libra people. The sun has moved into Libra, and so it's like shining a light on all the Libra stuff. What's going on here in Libra, right? And our very next lunation, the new moon in Libra that's coming, that one is going to be eclipsed. And so we're looking at what's going on here in Libra, what the South Node is trying to release, right? So we don't get the actual release now. We don't get the moment of like, okay, it's time to let it go. It's time to cut things off. It's time to evacuate or whatever that sort of stuff is, right? It's not time for that. It's time to reflect under the bright light and notice where we're going from here. So if you are in a space where, like, I think that this is a really good time to do some planning and get an idea of what sort of stuff is going on, and then maybe like say your goodbyes a little bit, you know what I mean, to like whatever the Libra thing is. So the full moon honestly is probably a good time if you're like thinking about it right now and you're like, I don't really know, then, well, there's a couple of things. First, you can get an astrology reading and we can talk about it. So we can look at the houses that these signs are in your chart, and we can look at where the rulers are in your chart and sort of get some ideas this way, right? You can do that yourself as well. You can also just think about what kinds of things have started to build up for a while and are ready to break and you're ready to let go of in your life. It's likely that those things are probably correlated with whatever, like the astrology will reflect that, you know? So you can think about that and think about a year and a half. Right? So like we're going to go through this for a year and a half. We're going to be in this place where it's like, okay, I'm trying to like get rid of the South Node thing in Libra. That's also probably going to move me toward the North Node in Aries, whatever's going on there. Like I'm probably going to go hard on that thing for the next year and a half or so. So this is a moment to sort of like be aware of what's going on here, to get an idea of like what's even happening. And then if some stuff has to be released, then it might be a good time to be like, all right, look, it's been real. I appreciate you being here for all this time. Say your goodbyes and I will see you next time, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So, you know, we can see that Venus is currently in Leo, making a sextile to Mars in Libra. So Mars is super uncomfortable this week, right? Mars doesn't really like being in Libra in the first place. Put Mars on the South Node, this is like real uncomfortable. It's very deeply uncomfortable in a like bodily kind of way, and like there's a lot of like heat and irritation and anger that might go along with that, and maybe that's part of what needs to be released here a little bit. And you know, I think about like an angry release as being like, so you can breathe through that. I have a breathing exercise. You can find it on Spotify, Tidal, Pandora, Apple Music, whatever, right? So you can breathe through that, or you can also break something or throw something or something like this, right? Like some kind of release around the Mars thing and around the Libra thing, like especially because Libra, it can be so like concerned with what the other person thinks or something like this, then that can sort of like build things up a little further. So be aware of that kind of stuff that might be going on here. But so we've got this Venus in Leo who is making a sextile to Mars, right? So Venus's job is to bring togetherness, to bring cooperation, to bring harmony and this kind of thing. A sextile is an aspect which is associated with Venus, which is going to have to do with it's complementary. It wants to work together. It's peanut butter and jelly, and they work together and they make something synergistic that wouldn't have been possible otherwise, this kind of thing, right? So to see this Venus in Leo making a sextile to Mars looks like one of the last times when Venus is going to be able to do the cooperative, harmonic, moving together things for a little while. After we've got this Venus in Leo, then we've got Venus in Virgo. That's a rough time. Venus in Libra is typically more fun, but we've got the South Node here. I wouldn't trust it. Then we've got Venus in Scorpio after that. That's another sort of uncomfortable position for Venus. Then we've got Venus in Sagittarius, then that's going to make a square to Saturn. Like there's a bunch of tough Venus stuff going on here. So especially now, after the retrograde, having reflected, reevaluated what really matters, then to see this sextile to Mars here looks like a nice moment where we can be like, look, I've got to go away from this thing, but look, it's all love. I still appreciate you. It's all love. I appreciate y'all.